Okay,
Good morning.
we're here with you. We're so excited to be here with
made
you.
it.
I know we
Yay.
did. Yay. So good morning, everybody.
morning.
Well, it might be afternoon.
Could be, depending where you're at. It's Saturday. It's the 2nd of December.
I know.
Wow.
How is it December already? Can anyone answer that? Because
yeah.
my mind is a little bit blown right now.
It's gone a little fast.
I think it's gone so fast.
Yeah. So happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Yep. Happy 2nd day of December. Hope you're having a great day. Thank you for being here with us. This is going to be fun.
I know. Yeah. This is always a fun time of year to talk about our gardens because a lot of us aren't able to actually be out in our gardens. No. When was the last time we were in our temporary garden? I think it's been like
about 2 weeks.
It's been like almost 2 weeks.
Oh, well, yeah.
Maybe a week and a half.
About a week. Yeah, about a week and a half.
Which feels really weird, you guys. We don't like that, but is that
Good morning,
Gwendolyn?
Gwendolyn Newhouser. Good morning.
Good morning, Gwendolyn.
Thank you for being here.
And we were just talking about in the winter, it's not winter yet, but it kind of feels like we're almost in winter. Whenever it hits December, I always think it's winter, even though it's technically still fall.
I know. I think we're wired that way here in the Pacific Northwest. It gets cold. It gets freezing. We've already had a lot of freezing temperatures.
We have. I know.
We haven't had any snow yet. Thank goodness. Woo!
Which is why we thought we would talk about overwintering some perennials today. We've had so many questions on so many of our videos that we wanted to help.
Morning, Tracy. Thanks for being here.
And hi, Tracy. And wherever we go with the conversation is great. We just wanted to have a little bit of a topic to kind of start things off.
Yeah, we wanted to have an excuse to be here with you.
And okay, so we went live. We just started these back up about 3 weeks ago. So I think it was November 11th-ish.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
That was the last time we went live, and we had so much fun with you guys. We were so happy that you showed up with us. And what are you pointing at here?
I'm almost there. If you look at the cup.
Oh, that cup.
This is a fun one. So I'm at almost. I'm not you may talk yet. I haven't had a lot of coffee yet this morning.
I haven't had it.
So I'm working on it. Love this cup.
So, well, Sean works on that. Tell us where you're watching us from. We would love to find out. There's so many things going on, I guess, with gardening right now. It doesn't seem like it, but with the hardiness zone map changes,
yes,
that has a lot of us, I think, are thinking about it. We're wondering if it really matters or if it's going to affect our gardens.
You know what? It affected us.
Yeah, it did.
We went up a half a zone. So instead of zone 8B, we're in our garden, our temporary garden now is in zone 9A. So it did affect us.
I know, and it kind of, we're going to be talking more about this topic this week in our very first garden news roundup. So that's coming up. Watch for that coming up, hopefully Monday, maybe Tuesday. Oh, yeah. We're excited to talk a little more about that today with you guys.
And really quick, I think there's a Valerie that just came in and said hi. Yes, hi Valerie. Thank you.
Valorie's from South King County. That's so fun.
And
thank you for
Tracy. You were here last time with us.
Tracy from Lacey.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you guys for showing up. It's so fun that you guys are both PNW as well. Oh, we have a Woodby. Oh, Gwendolyn's on Woodby Island.
Okay, great. Hey, a lot of PNW here.
This is like perfect because we're all kind of in the same
represent.
Fairly similar zones here, but it doesn't matter even if you're watching from anywhere else. We still want to hear. We're going to talk to you guys about some specific plants and also like how to overwinter them, obviously, or if you even need to, or how you do it. Maybe you do it a different way that's been working for you for years. And
let us know in the chat. So let us know in the chat if you're overwintering anything this year, this winter, but also if your zone has changed, if it's changed. Now, Tracy said hers in Lacey hasn't changed, which is good. You don't have to change the way you garden. So,
and I don't think we really do either. There's just a couple things that I'm wondering.
I mean, so it does affect us. There's some people out there that are saying doesn't matter or it's not that big of a deal, and it's like, well, it is. I think anyway. I think it is because those zones, the USDA zones, give you a foundation to then build off of how you're going to manage your garden, what you're going to plant, what's actually hardy. Even a half zone difference can be the difference between actually being able to grow something or not grow something in your garden. So,
and I'm kind of wondering about bulbs for our area. Now, we've been thinking for the last couple of years since some of you know our backstory. We lived in Tacoma. We had a garden for years. And then we moved. So our garden actually still lives in Tacoma at my mom's house in containers.
Yes.
So we're still gardening there. So we always kind of were thinking, wow, Tacoma feels like it's, I don't know, the hardiness zone at 8B, it just seemed like a lot of plants that we grew as annuals were overwintering, and like Calibrachoa. We have overwintered Calibrachoa for years in containers too, which is really interesting.
Yes.
And it keeps coming back, and that's a 9A or 9B hardiness.
I think it's a straight up 9.
So it's like, and then you add in all the other factors. Of course, there's microclimates all over the place, but
and that's where the USDA zone change can or might not affect you depending on the microclimate you're in. But even with that little bit of change, you might have noticed it already, and just the USDA is just now catching up where you've noticed the change from your garden and your climate. It's gotten a little bit warmer. You might have been able to get away with growing a couple of plants that usually or historically don't grow in your area because they're not hardy. So, it's interesting.
It is interesting.
And it makes us think. That's the most important thing, I think, about this is it's making us think and reevaluate, even in a little bit, how we manage our gardens. And that's a good thing.
I know. So, and, we're bulb crazy. We love planting bulbs, fall bulbs, spring bulbs, doesn't matter. So that's the question I have is the fall bulbs. If we're 9A and a lot of tulips only have a hardiness down to zone 8, are we going to need to pre-chill them even longer now? Or do we just kind of let it ride out for a season or two and see what happens?
I think plan B is
that's
ride it out a little bit, because we still get a lot of those cold temperatures. It's just with a 9A, it might not be as cold. It might not get as low. Yeah. And so therefore, over time, we're going to need to have more cold days within the temperature range, about 38 to 50 degrees. That's kind of that what do you want to say? That's the sweet spot of making sure that the bulbs get some type of chilling in that chilling range of temperatures before they can flower. That's daffodils, it's tulips, it's grape hyacinth, all the fall planted bulbs. But if it's getting warmer in your area, like it kind of is in our area, we're going to need more of those cooler days probably, because technically the average isn't getting low enough. The average temperature is not getting low enough. So we'll need more of those cooler days to average out to still get and hit that sweet spot of cold treatment before they flower.
That makes sense.
And that's a theory. It can differ between microclimate from microclimate, area to area within a region. So and year to year.
For some reason, I keep looking up there. Our lens is over there.
Our
Sorry, I'm not looking at you guys.
Last time we were like this because we weren't in what is that, landscape? We were in vertical. It's like, hey.
I know we set it up wrong.
So that was funny. My bad.
So
that was me.
Really quick, coming back to the point, Tracy from Lacey had a really good question. She was wondering, and I'm going to say, what do you think about this? Because you're more familiar with this than I am, but she was wondering if the sunset zones are more accurate.
I think so.
That's a great question.
Because sunset, it's interesting. The sunset zones take into account so many more factors, including microclimates, but they take into account also, the heat in your areas. They take into account elevation, for sea level or up into the mountains. They take in moisture. Those zones are a lot more accurate, but everybody seems to still go with the USDA zones. Now, when we first started talking about gardening ourselves and getting out here and doing all this, we kind of hit both sides of the hardiness talk there for sunset and for USDA.
We did.
And we've kind of just moved into the USDA zones because everybody's really familiar with that. And it's a lot easier to understand. It's not as accurate, I think, but it's a lot easier to digest.
Well, and Gwendolyn had a good question, and I wonder, I honestly, I can't remember all of it either. What are the sunset zones? Can you explain? You just said they're more accurate. They have more. They take more into account of different.
Well, what do you mean? Just like an overall general?
Yeah, where do they come from? Western Sunset Gardens.
Sunset Western Gardens. They put together their own zones based on all the things I just talked about. And I think there's a couple others too, but a couple other factors. But it goes up to, I think, zone, is it 23 or 25? It's
divided totally different. I do
completely,
remember that.
Yeah, and yeah, it's to me, it makes more sense. Now, if you ever get you can go online and find the sunset zones on sunset.com if you want to go there. But you can also, if you ever have a sunset, the encyclopedias, the Sunset Western Garden book, every once in a while, every 10 years or 5 years or something, they put out a new book and it has all these different plants in it. And
It's a huge book.
Yeah, it's a really thick book.
I'm looking at our library.
Go ahead and grab one.
We might have one over
The books are over there. I can't grab them. But yeah, so I mean, if you can, grab one of those books because they're not only full of awesome information and great cultural information that's really, really great and actually written for the Western United States only. It's not really they never really took into account. Now that's different one.
This is not the right.
This
is a Sunset.
This one's 365 Days of Garden Color, which is another great book. That is fun. You want an idea book? Yeah, you want an idea book?
That up again.
That is an awesome book for ideas to put different plants together, companion planting, uses. I know, we use it all.
I do like that book.
So anyway, the Sunset Western Garden book. Look in the very front, and they break down all the zones. They break down how they came about them. They break down what they mean, where they're at. But it's only for usually the Western United States. Now, they might have changed that in the last couple of years, but it used to only be for basically Colorado, Montana. Yeah, Montana. It encompassed Wyoming, New Mexico, and everything west of that. But the southeast, the northeast, the Midwest didn't encompass any of that. It used to be. Now it might do that. They might still do that. Or not still do that. Sorry, they might do that now. So
okay.
But yeah, it's so much more accurate. So when I went through school, when I was in the Hort program, we would use those to really get a bead on what would grow in our area, and it was so useful. It was such a great resource, and it just makes sense, especially if you're from out west. You understand all the different microclimates in the Intermountain West. You understand the coastal areas, the deserts, the forests, the rainforest. A
lot of different climates out here.
You understand how diverse it is out here and how different all those different climates are. So yeah, anyway.
Well, thank you for sharing that. A lot of people are saying thank you. They really want to get that book now, and they appreciate that info.
Awesome. Good. Yeah. Well, I want to ask you, what do you think is more accurate, or what do you think about the difference between the two?
Well, I like that Sunset accounts for different, more factors than just the lowest average temperature in an area, because that seems just very limiting. But I mean, I like knowing what the U.S. hardiness zone is, because we work with a lot of different plant companies like Proven Winners and Endless Summer Hydrangeas, and I mean we work with, Sean and I actually work with these companies. They send us plants to trial, and they all base them on the USDA hardiness zone. So we kind of have to know that. Yeah. And we have to teach about that and understand, all the nuances of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that Sunset has a lot more factors to it, but it seems more West-centric.
Definitely.
And I think that's why it's not adopted everywhere. It's just kind of
it's
a guideline for the West. That's pretty much how I see it. But
definitely.
I still don't know that much about it.
Well, and I agree with you about the Western side of things. I think the Orient. No, what do I want to say?
I'm not sure. I don't know what
do I want to say? I don't know. The history, where these came from.
Oh, bulbs in general. You mean just
No. The two different systems of hardiness.
Bulbs.
I know. I love bulbs. We love bulbs.
I don't know why I'm thinking bulbs.
So, the history of where these originated. There you go. That's the word I want. This is like our blooper video that we just released. Oh my God, that was
so
fun.
Many more things you guys don't even know.
So the origin of where the USDA hardiness zone maps came from versus Sunset. USDA, if I remember right, it came from being able to use that for the whole nation for farmers.
Yeah.
To get a bead on where different crops generally would grow around our country. And so it was more of an economic, it was more of a marketing and money type of usage, where you don't want to waste your money and throw away your money and time planting seed that literally isn't going to survive and grow in your area, right? So it came at it from more that standpoint, where Sunset Western Garden, it's for a gardener, it's for the home gardener. That's where it came from. So they were able to really fine tune and bring in all these different pieces besides just lowest average temperature, like microclimate, elevation, moisture. And they were able to really fine tune that. And so, yeah, anyway, so I think that's where the origins of either one of those come from.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting to the chat for a second. Let's see. There were a couple really fun comments I wanted to come back to. Angela Anderson mentioned that, so speaking of overwintering, which we are going to get into that with our with plants and stuff, she is going to try doing dahlias a little different in her. I think she said 7B is where she's located. Ooh, wow. And I would love to know where you live, Angela. So usually digs them up, dahlias, every year. But she's mentioned that she's going to leave. Is it just one this year? She's going to leave 1 or 2 in the ground, it sounds like, and just kind of see how it goes. A little bit of an experiment.
Awesome.
And I love that.
That's great.
Plus, it's so much easier just to be able to leave them in the ground.
Leave it alone. Yeah, right. I mean, we've been spoiled.
We have been
living around here in PNW. Yeah.
And she mentioned that it's in a container up close to the house. So that, I mean, really you have to factor in that's even almost a zone lower just in general with the container. Yes. But the fact that you have it up by the house, you get that residual heat, which changes the microclimate again. Yes. Right. So there's a lot of interesting things going on.
Yeah. And Angela, you might not know this or not, but the reason Allison said when you're growing in container, grow from the standpoint of growing in one zone level down less than you growing, because the plant's elevated up out of the ground, the roots are exposed, it doesn't have that insulation around its roots, and any other beneficial characteristics of being literally in the ground around your garden of other plants and that type of thing. So that's why she mentioned that. So, but yeah, good point about being up next to the house, getting that residual heat.
A lot of factors.
And it depends too on, is it on the west side of the house, the east side of the house? Is it on the south side, the north side? Southeast, southwest is going to get, on that area is going to get the most sun.
Angela's in New Mexico too.
Oh, New Mexico. Yeah, so totally different climate than us. Okay, cool. Wow.
And I just wrote back to Angela and said that's like one of the only states in the western side that we have not visited.
That in Colorado.
Colorado. You've been to Colorado. I don't think I've ever been to Colorado. Yeah. Just one of those things, I've always wanted to go there.
Oh, I've never been to Alaska in the western states.
Oh, I love Alaska.
But you've been to Alaska, and we've been to Hawaii.
Yes, and we're going to definitely get back to Alaska sometime, or so I can take you.
Two beautiful states in the West are Idaho and Montana.
Oh, I love Montana.
Yeah, we want to go back to both of those. Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Quick tangent. Yeah. I wanted to get back to a bulb thought. Middle Dunton. I remember your name. I think you used to come. Kath. Anyway, Kath mentioned that Kath is in Delaware and is still planting daffs and tulips and transplanting shrubs from pots to ground.
Cool.
Yeah, we literally need to do all of those things. So we haven't So
we're with list. Yeah,
Kath, we are with you.
Yeah, Kath, you're right. Do it right now.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
Yep. Whether you're planting or transplanting your daffs, tulips, or other fall planted bulbs, do it now. If the ground's not frozen,
I know.
Get it done.
Well, awesome. Sean and I have done some very wacky things in the past few years, including last year. Again, our garden in a temporary location, all in containers. We had piles of fall bulbs that we had not planted yet.
And this was
this last year or 2 years ago?
This was this past spring.
We planted daffs and tulips and who knows everything else that we had in like the end of February, I want to say.
I think it was March.
Was it March? And they all came up and bloomed beautifully.
And we made a video about it. And you can check that out. I think it was planting 100 plus daffs, tulips, and different bulbs in March, and it was from this past March.
Because a lot of people in different areas in the U.S. do have to actually wait till like late winter or whatnot to plant them, and we were even behind that, right? Mm-hmm. We were later than that. Okay. So the spring. Dahlias, you're going to love them.
Yeah, awesome, Kath, yeah.
And Angela mentioned, just backing up really quick. Angela from New Mexico is in high desert. It snows, but then melts 2 hours later.
Wow. Interesting.
The joke is apparently just wait 20 minutes and the weather changes. That is the joke here too, actually.
That's pretty funny.
Pacific Northwest.
Oh, wow.
And Angela's at 6,800 feet.
Whoa.
That's super cool.
And that is such different gardening than from what we're used to, because we're at sea level right now, and actually in Tacoma, where our garden's actually at temporarily, that's at sea level.
Yeah.
And so high elevation gardening, that is such different gardening because
cool.
The air is a little bit thinner, the sun's more intense. That's cool.
I would love to hear more about that.
Me too.
More about that.
Me too. Nice.
Very cool, Angela. Yeah. Okay, you guys. So let's check real quick. We have a poll up, and thank you for taking it. A lot of you have already jumped in there. So the question this morning is, are you overwintering any of these plants this year? We just wanted to kind of get a baseline of who's doing what so we can help if anybody has any questions. Plus, we were just curious. Yeah. So we have mums, dahlias, hostas, or something else that's not listed on the list here.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, uh-oh.
Sorry, guys, if we're a little fuzzy on the video. Not sure what's going on there, but
I'm gonna check my.
We're gonna pause here for a minute on the poll. But if you haven't taken it yet, get in there and take that poll at the top of the chat there. Love to hear what you think. Yeah, I don't know. On our end, it looks fuzzy. On the screen, we're all pixelated, and it looks different. So,
are we fuzzy? Yeah. I'm gonna ask you guys.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear us too. We didn't ask that yet, but
how do we fix that? Let's see.
I think we're okay. Now I turned off all the other machines. And
they said yes.
Nothing.
Thank you, Gwendolyn, for letting us know. And
we're fuzzy. Sorry, guys. Sorry, we're fuzzy. We don't mean to be fuzzy.
Why are we fuzzy? We're not. Okay, we're gonna fix this because we are dropping people here.
Something going on.
Pixelated, yeah.
Let me see.
Okay, we're gonna see what we can do.
We're running on my phone, so I'm gonna go through and see if something goofy's going on my phone. Something that shouldn't be running that is running.
Stand by, you guys.
Stand by. Let's see here. Turn that off.
Just happened to because it was fun.
Yeah, it's weird. It could be internet in our area. Let's turn that off. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna figure it out though. Hopefully it'll. You can see my finger on the screen. That's fun.
What's going on?
It could be our bit rate. It could be something else going on. It could be YouTube itself too. We don't know. Okay.
So they can hear us well. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angel.
So don't mind the pixelate. I wish we had like a overlay right now. We could just put a picture of ourselves.
You know what's going on? Today is just a different kind of day. We're just going to be pixelated. We're gonna come at you pixelated today.
That. So okay, well, so I was trying to.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Move us on here, I guess. So so 50. Okay, so back to the poll. 50% of you said you are overwintering dahlias. So we would love to hear from you what you do. What's your method for overwintering dahlias? Because I think everybody has a little bit of a different spin on it, including us, and
it's fun.
They all work. It's not like they're wrong. No. So we'd love to hear what you're doing.
You know, that's a fun thing about gardening. Some people might say, well, you can't do it that way. That's the wrong way. It's like, well, hey, it works.
I know.
So it must be right. So, yeah. Well, it's okay.
I keep looking at our pixelated fuzzy screen and I'm like, let's fix it.
It's okay.
So are we just hoping it'll bounce back to normal?
It's just going to be a different experience today, and that's okay.
Well, why don't we jump to our Q&A?
Yeah, okay.
Where would you like to go next?
Let's do the overwintering stuff. Let's talk about overwintering, what we do for overwintering. And you know what, if you guys are if you guys in the chat you want to tell us, chime in what you do. Looks like Gwendolyn's got something up there.
So cool. Gwendolyn, we're just going to read what you say out loud. Oh, we're back. We're not pixelated anymore.
Hey, we made it.
Okay, Gwendolyn said, my dahlias are all in ground, and this will be our first time digging them up and storing them for the winter. Okay. I'm going to try the method you guys suggested by storing them in a box with shredded paper.
Awesome.
That's worked for us for years. And we say that we actually don't need to dig ours up technically if they're just in the ground here. But we have, because we've moved and they were containers, and we found a lot of luck with that method.
Yes. Yeah, we have. Yeah. So Gwendolyn, make sure also, doing that method, make sure that make sure that you put them in a dark place. It doesn't reach a dark place that's dry and they don't get wet. And then also it doesn't reach freezing temperatures, and keep them up off the ground. We made that mistake a couple years ago with some other plants that we were overwintering. When they're on the ground in your garage or anywhere else, that's the coldest place they can be in that room or in that structure, right? Cold air descends. That's where all the cold air is. So keep them up off the ground.
I remember we did that. We had no room.
Yep.
We had stuff everywhere in our garage. I remember that.
Yep.
It was just kind of like, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we found out.
And the geraniums made it. All the stuff that we brought inside actually made it. And maybe we lost a couple cuttings, but yeah, it did pretty good. So we keep going in and out of pixelation. It's
That's
just
okay. Yeah, I think the plants we lost were the some of them were the fuchsias.
Oh yes, I think you're right.
Okay. The fuchsias.
Yeah, fuchsias would be another one to add to that list. Fuchsias are one that generally they like zone like 10 or above or something. Right?
Yeah, they're a little finicky in our area.
Unless they're a hardy fuchsia, right?
Yeah,
like a really beautiful.
There's the perennial fuchsias, and then there's just the fuchsias everybody grows in baskets for the hanging baskets, and those usually aren't hardy in our area. But with the zone change, maybe it is.
I don't know. Right? everything can stay outside.
The number changed, so everything else
changed,
right?
Actually, the weird thing is in our backyard, I don't know if you guys we planted a bunch of Rex begonias outside in, I believe it was the beginning of June, maybe that video. Mm-hmm. We have these beautiful Rex begonias. They're mainly kind of known as indoor plants, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And as of last week, they're still outside in containers.
And they're still growing fine. We've had multiple low temperatures and freezes, and they're doing great. So, yep, they're getting that residual heat. So, what does Valerie say? If overwintering in a garage, do the plants not need light, or is it because they just went off the screen, or is it because they're going dormant, light isn't an issue?
Good question.
It's a little bit of both. Yeah. But it really comes down to the plant itself. So if they are starting to go dormant, they don't need light or they need a lot less light. It depends on how you're going to overwinter them too. And that's one of the questions we have here from one of the viewers earlier. I think it was last week. If you're going to overwinter, let's say your mums inside, but you're going to continue to grow them and you're going to continue to water them and give them light, and you want to encourage them to keep growing and keep them in a warmer temperature, they'll keep growing. You can do that. They can be grown in an indoor flowering plant. But if you intend for them to literally shut down, stop growing, shed their leaves, and the stems die back, then you want to put them into, they definitely won't need the light, and you just put them either in a coolish room inside the house and let them sit in complete darkness, and then give them a little bit of water, but not a lot, maybe once a month or so. And that will keep them dormant until the warm temperatures come back, and you can start waking them up to bring them outside and then water them more and prune them back and different things. We're going to talk about a little bit more about that cool. for the question we have.
It does make you think though, right? It's like, wait, this plant's going to be inside in darkness for like 3 straight months, potentially, maybe longer.
Yep.
It's like, is it going to actually make it? And then you're like, you come back or as you're checking on it, you're like, this thing's still growing. I mean, it's amazing.
So, and it's funny too, totally. And it's funny too, because mums, once they get triggered by cold freezing temperatures, they trigger themselves into, or that triggers them into dormancy. If they don't get that, and they're still in a warmish environment and it's not freezing yet, some of them won't completely go dormant. They'll continue to grow. So you can bring them inside, keep them nice and green and watered and fertilized, and maybe possibly get some more flowers out of them later on or early this spring too. So it just depends. So
Mark. I know. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
We're having all kinds of issues, but everybody can hear us.
You know what?
So
it's a typical live around here.
We're just rolling with it. I want to back up a couple comments. Tracy from Lacey mentioned that she is, speaking of overwintering mums, Tracy mentioned that she has them in containers and moved them into an area between buildings and against the house.
Awesome.
So that should be awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, that should work great. Yep, they'll get that residual heat, Tracy, from both buildings. And if you can, don't cut them back yet. Some people do. I would suggest deadheading them and get the old blooms off of them, so they're not rotting and you don't get any earwigs or other critters or diseases to house themselves right there. But don't cut them all the way back yet. Just let them be, and they'll be fine.
Oh, that's good advice.
Really cool.
I know it's fun to think about just caring for our plants and being able to like nurture them and let them just kind of breathe for a few months and then watch them come back to life next spring. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah. And you know what? The way you said that, it sounds like a nice 4-month vacation.
It sounds great to me.
Boy, that'd be fun.
I mean, are you guys, this makes me wonder, because we talk about this too, like, are you outside? Do you like get out in your garden, even if maybe you have inclement weather and it's, whatever? I mean, do you try to like get out in your garden every day, or do you really pack things up for a few months and just say, okay, I'm going to take a break? everything's set up the way I need it to be, and then you don't see it really again until spring.
Yeah.
What do you guys do? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. If you could just drop them in the comments.
Yeah, and I like that question because it comes down to where do you live, and are you able to go outside? Is it even safe for you to go outside? Because it's so cold in some places in our country. Oh, what did Tracy say?
She says, Tracy mentioned, so back to the mum deadheading, or overwintering, sorry. Tracy already deadheaded, but didn't cut them back. And
good job, Tracy.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome. Yep.
Okay, so Mark jumped in. Mark, we're glad you're here. We said that a couple minutes ago. What's one of our questions? Maybe we should jump into that.
Okay, let's do the questions.
Because it's relevant.
Relevant.
Oh, wait, a couple things coming in. Gwendolyn gets out in the garden about once or twice a week. That's awesome. I won't go out in the winter rain, though. Okay. And that's, that's understandable. We have the choice.
Yeah.
We don't have to go out and water every day, right? So, I know, Mark, our video, I don't know what's going on.
We don't know what's going on with the video. Could be the internet out here on this side of the country. It could be YouTube. It could be my phone. I don't know.
I mean, who knows? And some of you know, we're like right in I was just thinking, we're like about in the middle of the state. If you look at the state of Washington, we're out on the coast right now, like about right in the middle.
Yes, right on the coast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, couple things going on.
So what did Mark say?
Oh, Mark is still laughing on the bloopers video. We have all this random footage, and you're like, I mean, literally, like.
Oh, there's so much more.
I don't want to say hours of bloopers footage, but it's a lot.
Yeah, that would be a little too much.
That would be bad.
But that's all we make. That's all we put out now is just bloopers. No, but thank you, Mark, for saying that. Yeah, it was when we do these videos, when we do our videos, we have to make it fun because there's so many different things going on around us, and talking can be really hard, especially when you're on the spot looking at the camera. Trying to talk and make sense and get a point across, and
and we kind of question, like, should we put this out? This has like kind of nothing. I mean, it's in the garden, but it's like not gardening. But we're like, you know what? It made us laugh, and we hope that it provided a laugh or two from you guys, because we want to make you guys smile and have fun.
Well, we realize we can come off as very serious sometimes, and we're not that serious all the time. We're actually more goofy than serious.
Well, you know why? We're perfectionists. That's right.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But it's one of those things where we just want to kind of put it out there and remind ourselves, but remind everybody else. Try not to take yourself too seriously because it can be a lot of fun. So anyway.
I know. I've got to. You guys are so pretty.
That's great, Mark. I love it.
Mark said he was out Christmas shopping.
Awesome.
And,
good job, Mark. Yeah.
Okay, so on a little more serious note, so a couple people are chiming in about their garden. Do they go out in the garden? Do they often during this time of year?
Mm-hmm. We like to go out and putter a little bit every once in a while, especially in the winter. It just
feels good. Valerie mentioned Valerie likes to get out at least once a week because it makes her feel good. And even though I'm just doing rounds or checking on everything, there's often a bloom here or there, and I look for spots of color. And
those surprises are fun.
I totally agree with you, Valerie. I love that too. Whenever we're able to get into our garden, because again, we're 2 hours away from our actual garden. So we get there, and it's sometimes hard to get our job, which is filming, because we're running around looking at everything. We have to
watering, deadheading, staking, planting.
I know, it's fun.
Yeah, but that's the life of a gardener.
I know, it's I'm really not complaining, but I am. Tracy mentioned Tracy goes out and feeds. Tracy has a worm farm.
What? And that's cool.
And she's moving rocks around to make flower beds for the spring.
Oh,
perfect time.
Okay,
to do that. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, get a little compost in there, break up the soil, throw the compost on top, let it all kind of mingle and marinate over the winter. And
that's so inspiring too. I want to get in. We have a project looming, and I'm just like, I want to get started on it.
I know. Allison's real chomping at the bit to get that done. I love it'll be good.
Projects. Okay, and then Sean Comedy Hour. I know this guy. Jeez, that's cute. Oh, and then Mark was just commenting back to Tracy. Yeah, it's just fun making new space for garden beds, and just the hope of what's going to come, out of that. In the
all
future.
The new possibilities. Yeah,
I know. Definitely. It's so fun. Okay, thank you guys for commenting.
Awesome,
on that. It was fun to hear from you. So, okay, did we do this yet?
No, we have not.
So, do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so I thought we'd be a little formal kind of ish and have a couple questions ready. This came from our video, 3 Ways to Overwinter Your Potted Mums. It was actually a short, so that's fun. I forgot. So let's see. I'm not sure I'm going to actually say the account correctly, so let's just start it with MOJA, I think.
AA.
So, okay, this is kind of a long one, so I'm going to try to paraphrase. This person bought 30 different mums to grow indoors this winter.
Pretty cool.
And then plant them in the garden in the spring. So, okay.
Well, that's what they wanted.
They bought the 30 mums already. They want to keep them inside and then plant them in the spring.
Yes.
Okay. The question is, should I replant them now or wait until spring or summer?
And let's take each one of these questions one at a time because there's a lot.
There's a lot.
Each one. Yeah. So, thank you, by the way, for Moja Adressa 4228.
I know I didn't.
I think. Sorry if we're not saying that right. Thank you for your question, all the questions. So to replant them right now, you can, but it's better that you don't, especially if they're flowering, because once you replant them and they're flowering, you're going to stress the plant out. You're going to create stress by taking them out of one pot, kind of breaking up the roots a little bit if you're going to do that, and then placing them in another pot. That's going to create stress. Now, if you're just going to take them out of one pot, put them in a new pot, and not mess with the roots and keep that bulb, not do anything with those roots, and then put new soil around those roots like that, that's going to be a lot less stress for the plant. So they'll continue to flower, they'll be fine, but it's not going to stress them out. So you could do it that way if you wanted to. If it was me, I wouldn't replant them right now. I would wait, let them keep flowering, keep them alive, let them do their thing. Don't replant them right now. Because if you're going to plant them, one of the other questions was coming up is if you're going to plant them later out in the springtime, once you can, if you're going to plant them out in your garden, don't replant them now, because then you're going to replant them now and then you're going to replant them in a couple more months. That's going to be more stressful on the plant than you need to be. Just kind of leave them alone. If it was me, I'd just leave them in their pots and let them do their thing and be happy with that for now, and then do the repotting, do the replanting in the spring when that's appropriate.
That makes sense. I'm just trying to visualize. I'm like, what would you guys do with 30 mums? I would love to know what colors they are, but I don't know. I can insert color and be like,
I would assume they're assorted.
Yeah, just assorted mums.
That'd be so cool.
And is it like the typical, like, kind of that garden, that florist almost looking mum, or are they like, they have so many different mums that have, even more of a daisy look to them. I mean, it's fun to think about. 30 mums.
It is. It'd be beautiful. Yeah. If it's, the pinks, the yellows, the whites, the reds, the burgundies, the purples. I mean, the oranges. I mean,
there's so many colors.
It'd be amazing to have all those. Yeah. So.
And then, okay, so moving on. Next question. Okay, they would like to replant them in plastic containers and overwinter them in an unheated room. Should I feed them now or after replanting?
Okay, so this is a good question, and so realize if you're going to keep them, if you're going to transplant them and you're going to keep them inside, chances are that's going to stimulate them to grow a little bit either in their roots or on top of the plant. And so if you're going to stimulate them to grow and you keep them in a cold environment, they possibly, depending on how cold it is, they could go dormant. So repotting them, if you repot them and stimulate the growth and then place them in a cold area to go dormant, that's expending a lot of energy from the plant. The plant's going to expend a lot of energy to regrow, get stimulated, and then go dormant. And that's kind of a waste of energy for the plant. It's a lot more stress than it needs to go through. So if it was me, I'd either just keep them in their pots as they are, set them in the cold environment so they can go dormant, or their cold room so they can go dormant. And depending if they're getting light and if you're watering them, that'll also impact if they're going to go dormant. But, just realize that if you're going to replant them and then place them, I wouldn't replant them and then place them in a colder room. I would leave them where they're at, leave them in their pots, and then just place them in the colder room. If they're going to go dormant, you want them to go dormant, let them go dormant, and don't stimulate that growth. So that's what I would do.
Sorry, I'm just responding. Mark and I were talking about the zone changes.
Oh, cool. What did Mark say?
Mark mentioned that.
Sorry, I can't see it, you guys.
I love how you say this. The USDA went nuclear and changed all the zones. But his state at 8A? Yeah, 8A.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
In El Paso.
You know, and they said in general, the USDA, they said in general that about half the country went up half a zone, and the other 50% didn't.
Just stayed.
Yeah, it stayed the same. So your zoning stayed the same. 50% stayed the same, 50% changed and went up half a zone. So it's interesting.
It is interesting. And sorry to change topics. That's what I was talking to.
Hey, we're live.
Mark and I were just talking back and forth. I was mentioning that we talked about this at the beginning of the show, and ours actually went up.
Yep. But in Tacoma. In Tacoma.
Doesn't really seem different. We kind of were we were thinking the last couple of years that ours had kind of shifted a little bit,
because we've been able to grow a lot of other plants that we normally shouldn't be able to grow. So,
right. I know. And then, you add in all the microclimates around your individual garden, and I mean, it's interesting. Okay.
Keeping it interesting.
So we're going to move on to the next question, actually. So, this is Gail Tally? Yeah. 8037. Okay. The question is, I think I might have wasted my money and time buying bulbs, and I have yet to plant them. I don't have any bulbs in the ground.
It was more of a statement, but she was just this was from one of our polls, and she had an emoji at the end, just kind of going, "Oh well," kind of like, "Oh." And then Mark, you commented on this too.
That. Yes.
And so Gail, you can still plant them. You can still get them in the ground. You haven't wasted any of your money or your time. You can plant them in the ground right now, and as long as the ground's not frozen, and I mean, basically, if the ground's not frozen, get them in the ground. You still have time. A general rule of thumb, anyways, you can plant any time for like tulips and daffs, pretty much from like September or October all the way into December, right before Christmas, or a little bit after Christmas.
Even in March.
Well, but that too. But see, if you want to plant in the spring, if you want to plant in the fall, you can still do that right now. Now, if you missed your window, or you think you missed your window, and you're like, I bought all these bulbs, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? The spring or the late winter, and you can plant them then, still should grow and flower.
Okay.
No, what?
I was just saying, if they live in a climate where their ground's frozen already, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if the ground freezes, pretty much. So the caveat is like from December on, if the ground freezes in your area, don't place the bulbs in. It's going to be hard digging. You might not get, so if the ground's frozen, you might not be able to get deep enough to plant the bulbs. It's not going to be, it's going to be hard to dig in for you, and it's not going to be that great for gardening anyway. So you can wait. You don't have to plant them after that point if the ground's frozen. So no big deal.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, we would highly recommend just get them in.
Yeah, and this, this goes for daffs, tulips, grape hyacinths, alliums. Get them in the ground. Do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about dahlias for a minute. That's like, now I'm referring back to the poll that we have up right now, and 50% of the votes all are overwintering dahlias, and that's one that we still need to do our dahlias.
Because they haven't died back yet.
No, and
they're still photosynthesizing,
it's so
guys.
Bizarre. Last year we didn't dig them up until January. I want to say it was maybe the end of January too.
Yeah.
Now, you guys, we talked about this last time we went live, but all of our dahlias are in smart pots, which is essentially a container, right? Usually you zone a container down, even one more zone. So like we're 9A now. So we would say 8A.
Yeah. So depending on where you grow, where you're growing, zoning down is just literally saying whatever you're growing. I'm going to be really literal.
No, please.
Literal here.
Yeah.
You're growing a plant in a pot, and you're in zone 8B or 9A, whatever. Zone down, one whole zone down. If you're growing in a container, because that plant is above the ground, it's not insulated. Its roots aren't insulated. Doesn't get that benefit. So growing in zone 9, go down to an 8A. And that's your lowest temperature, average temperature that you should be aiming at for hardiness if you're growing in a container for any of your container plants. If you want to overwinter.
See, now I'm hearing you say that, and I'm like, do we actually need to overwinter our dahlias? But here's the caveat: like we could leave them in and do a kind of an experiment, move them up to the house or a structure. Like I think it was Valerie maybe mentioned.
And Valerie, we see your question about mulching. We'll get to that in just a minute.
Okay.
That's a fun.
We love talking about mulch. what don't we love talking about? So, okay, so what I'm wondering, you guys, for Sean and I, do we actually need to dig our dahlias up? The risk would be, what if some of them didn't make it, and we're really kind of attached to some of our dahlias because they're so beautiful? I'm wondering what you think.
So I think we should still dig them up, just because they're in well draining soil, but if it's a wet winter for us, they could be surrounded by too much water and they could rot.
Okay.
And then we get cold snaps here like you wouldn't believe. We get some really, really cold temperatures, sometimes for weeks on end. And it varies from year to year. Like, was it last year? No, it was the year before. We got down to like 20 or 18 degrees for like a whole week.
I know, we had to cover some stuff out in the garden.
And that's a little extreme for us. That's not something we see a lot in a lot of years. So maybe down 25 degrees, maybe 22-ish, something like that, but not past 20 usually for that amount of time. So if we get a cold snap like that, we would lose those bulbs.
Okay,
they would freeze and die.
So we will be overwintering them. We're not losing our dahlias
because of temperature, because of the unknowns of the temperature, and because of moisture. And we don't know. I mean, it's supposed to be an El Nino this year.
Yes,
so it's supposed to be wetter than usual. So yeah, for those two reasons, let's store them, I think.
So okay, just I guess to be on the safe side, we probably, again, if these were all in the ground, we wouldn't be touching them.
Nope. Because they'd have that insulation. We would know that we gave them great soil, well-draining soil, and we would actually, when we plant them, we have it in our minds, which direction is the water moving? Because everything's at there's a pitch in your garden. All the water moves in a certain direction, whether it's left, right, forward, back. It always moves underneath the ground. You just don't know it, but it's constantly moving. And so, yeah.
Well, and we would mulch. Which leads us to Valerie's question about mulch.
Yeah.
And then so Valerie, let's back up. So Valerie wants to talk about mulch. And Valerie says, I understand its purpose to keep the soil protected and reduce watering need. But if you layer on wood chips, do you then have to water longer for it to penetrate down through the mulch? That's the first question. So let's talk about that. Which season, I guess.
Yeah.
But any season, let's say.
So it depends how you start out. This is a different way to look at this. It depends on how you start out with the mulch. When you're mulching, you're going to mulch a bed. If you water it first and really soak the soil and then place the mulch on top, it's already pre-soaked. The moisture's in there. Then you're locking in the moisture with the mulch. Then when you water, yes, the water does have to physically go through all that mulch, that surface area, to reach down to the soil to then penetrate down. But if the soil's already moist, then that water still has to go through that mulch, but it gets to the soil, and it doesn't take very long for it to get to the roots of the plant because the soil's already moist and water moves at gradients, and it'll just hit the soil that's already moist, and then it'll push by gravity, push that water into the soil even a little bit. And that'll keep that soil continually moist. The problem is when what you run into sometimes is when you mulch a garden bed and it's dry, like almost completely dry, and you want to mulch over it. Well, when you water, this is something that I've run into over many years in landscaping, in past lives. You mulch a dry garden bed and then you water it. And then you're like, well, I watered at the recommended amount, for the plants, whatever, and the plants are still dying. And then you remove the mulch and it's still dry. The soil's still dry, a couple inches down below the surface of the soil, and not reaching the plant roots. The reason that happens, and you got to put a whole bunch of water on top of that mulch for that dry soil underneath, is because the water is literally trying to re-moisten the soil as it moves through gravity. And if it's not already moist, it's going to have a harder time moving through that dry soil and rehydrating those soil capillaries to keep moving down to that plant roots. So it's always a good idea, if you're going to put mulch over, make sure the soil is moist and it goes down the soil profile for that moisture down to where the plant roots are. So then when you do mulch, you'll lock in that moisture, and then anytime you get more water on top of the mulch, you're watering, it'll reach, that new water will reach the plant roots a lot faster. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a great question, because that you almost think that you're preventing the water from getting there because you're putting all this stuff on top of it, right?
Well, and in a way, you kind of are. It is a barrier, and depending what kind of mulch it can be too, like if it's more of a fine compost that you put on top of your soil, that's still great as a mulch, but also as a fine compost, as a mulch, it has a lot smaller soil capillaries than, say, wood chip would, and so it's going to hold on to that moisture a lot tighter. The water's not going to move as fast through that as it would like a wood chip or a bark mulch or something like that.
Like a rock mulch.
Or even a rock mulch, definitely. And so you need to realize that when you're picking out your different mulches too, how fine they are, how coarse they are, and why you're putting that down. Is it for the mulch effect, or is it, if you're putting down compost, is it for that mulch effect, or is it also for a nutrient piece where you want to soak the water into it, filter out all the good stuff from that compost down into the soil profile for, down below for those plant roots, which is a great thing to do, but also realize that those finer particles are going to hold on to the water a lot stronger. So,
and I like that explanation. I mean, if you've watched our videos for a bit, we basically mulch all season, all year. I should say all year, not all season.
Yeah, and you can mulch anytime.
We put mulch down all the time. We had it on ground beds. We had it on raised beds. We have it in our containers for a lot of our shrubs, especially like the proven winners ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it works wonders throughout an entire year.
Mm-hmm.
Where and in the spring we'll kind of move it away. If we had in the winter, we might cover more of the surface area of that. If you're talking about a container, right? We would put at least 2 to 4 inches of mulch.
Mm-hmm.
We might kind of move it away from the center of the crown of any plant, so it's not like blocking or hindering its growth in the spring. But that's a different topic. But Mark's asking. He's saying in 8A he doesn't really do any. He doesn't have to do anything with his bulbs. Which
you
is
lucky
awesome.
Guy.
He was just wondering in general, like if he was like in 6A, would 4 inches of thick mulch, like evenly distributed, provide a really good protection against freezing, or is it too risky?
No, that's perfect. That's one of the exact reasons. Good question, Mark. That would be one of the exact reasons you would put down 2 to 4 inches of wood chip mulch over the top of your soil in zone 6A, especially during the winter and fall months, because in even early spring, if it's super cold there, like it would be in 6A, to insulate your plant roots and the soil. Definitely. Yeah. And what some people do too is they'll lay down the mulch over plant crowns, some of their perennials, to really, after they go dormant, they'll put the mulch right over the top of them to insulate them during the wintertime. And then like late winter, early spring, they'll remove the mulch and get it off the top of the crown of the plant. So then it's exposed again to then continue to grow. So there's a couple different ways you can use mulch. You can use it for the temporary effects of it, or the more permanent effects too. So it just depends on how you use it and what your goal is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
we do both.
Yeah, we do.
We just put mulch everywhere.
Yeah. Good question, Mark.
Yeah, that was fun. I know we love talking about mulch, and you guys probably know we're big proponents of, well, you call it arborist mulch, but it's like a wood chip mulch. How are they different though?
Good question. So wood chip mulch is kind of, you can lump in a bunch of different kinds of mulch into that. Wood chip mulch can be arborist mulch, it can be beauty bark mulch, it can be engineered wood fiber. As a general statement, wood chip mulch, but all of those are different and used for different reasons. Like beauty bark is a very aesthetic type of mulch. It gives your landscape a very formal look. There's not a lot of nutrients in that beauty bark mulch, but it does do a good job of insulation, and the aesthetic value of it is awesome. Now, engineered wood fiber, you can use that, and it literally is what it's called. It's engineered very. It's a very uniform type of wood chip in these little squares, and they're all the same about thickness, same size, and that's usually used in like playgrounds and as a safety type of thing, mostly safety type of mulch. But you can use it in your garden. It's kind of expensive because it is engineered, but that's something you can use too. There's not a lot of nutrients in that. The reason we really like arborist mulch, and the reason it's called arborist mulch, is because it's when arborists cut down a tree or limbs or anything, they chip it up and it's ununiform. It can be stringy, it can be twiggy, it can be all different kinds of colors, and it can even have like chewed up leaf material in it. But you can get it for free a lot of times, which is pretty cool. Awesome, but because it's wood chip, because it's chipped from live tissue, it's got a lot of nutrients in it. It's got lots of different nutrients that plants need, especially nitrogen if there's chewed up leaves or needles in it, shredded up. And it's great for plants to give them like a natural boost, almost kind of quickly from those chewed up leaves and needles. But then over time, all that bark, all of the wood, it breaks down over time, right? That also has nutrients locked up in it. And over time, those break down and that filters down too into the soil. And that's why we like to use that.
And it helps build soil.
Yes,
when we started using and putting wood mulch, arborist mulch. I know there's a couple people saying,
good to see you, buddy.
And Neri Amlin.
Oh, Neri, hi.
But yeah, we noticed when we were starting to use mulch all over my grandparents' very, very old landscape at our old house that all the videos pretty much are from, we noticed an instant, like, the plants instantly responded.
Yeah,
maybe like a month or two.
Within about a month, they just perked right up. They looked greener.
They looked amazing.
They looked healthier.
It was like, wow, these were like 40, 50-year-old plants. So, they produced more flowers that year because that mulch, not only did it break down, it helped build soil. It had a lot of really awesome benefits.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah.
Okay, backing up. Oh, you were going to say something.
Well, it was about what Tracy was going to say. What Tracy said about getting a wood chip mulcher.
Oh yeah.
Just really quick, Tracy, awesome idea. I would say they're kind of expensive. They can be. So only get one if you're going to use the lot, or at least every year from chipping things up from your garden to then put back in. That's a great way to do it. Recycle your material right back into your garden. Love that idea. But they can be expensive. So you can get arborist mulch for free from local arborists if you go to chipdrop.com.
I was trying to remember the name of that, Chipdrop.
Yep. So it's CHIPDROP.com, and go through their system and find your local arborists, and you can usually get about 10 to 20 yards of arborist mulch for free.
It's a lot. Be ready for a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, just
it's a personal preference too. Like my mom didn't really like the look of it or the fact that it had a lot of stuff in it or the chunkiness, because
you bet, Tracy.
She's a little more aesthetic, and the mulch that she wants, which is fine. That's her choice. We're kind of just like dump it and go. We don't have time to sift it out or make it look pretty.
Well, and after a while, it has its own aesthetic look to it too. Yeah. It does. The color fades on it over time.
I know. I love it.
But it looks great. I think it looks awesome. I love the look of it. Yeah.
So let's back up really quick. There's two people talking about leaf mulch. Neri Ailman, we wanted to say hi again. Yep. I think we just said hi to you, but
hi, Neri.
Neri is in Utah. Yeah. So thank you for joining us. And I was wondering, is it okay to mulch with leaves? She said she mulches with leaves. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. Just know that when the wind blows, it's going to blow them around. So if you mulch with the leaves, try to put some wood chip or something over the top of them, especially in Utah, because it gets really windy there. We've been to Salt Lake City. It got really windy while we were there in the
Utah's
summer.
A beautiful state.
Yes, that's a gorgeous state. Yeah. But yeah, leaves are awesome. They break down. I used to work for a school district, and we used to take the leaves at all these schools and put them back into the landscape beds, and we would pile them like 8, maybe 12 inches high at times, because there were so many leaves and we didn't want to pick them up. So we put them back in the garden beds. They would, over time, over a couple of weeks, they would literally compact themselves down into just this thin layer. So it was really cool. That's cool. Yeah. So we didn't have to get rid of a lot of those, and they would add a lot of leaf material and particulates to the soil down below. The plants loved it, but it depends on the leaves too. Not all leaves are created equal.
Well, and it makes me laugh thinking not only is it beneficial and people like the look of it and whatnot, but it's like, it also eliminates a lot of work. So that's there's kind of that benefit for us to it, is that, so it made me laugh. You were like, yeah, we didn't really want to do it. So
who wants to do that backbreaking work? 8 hours of months on end of picking up leaves, it gets old for anybody.
I know.
Make sure, Neri, and anybody else listening to about using leaves for mulch, the waxier your leaves are from that tree, like an oak leaf, the waxier those leaves are, the longer they're going to take to break down. And that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, depending on what you need from those leaves, especially for nutrients. And if they're waxier, don't pile them up too high, because it'll be good for mulch, but if you go too high, it'll be too much of a layer for water and air to penetrate down into the soil for. So if the waxier the leaf, you can use it as a mulch, but go thinner. Only do about maybe 1 to 2 inches, so you can still get that water and air penetration through.
That's a really good point.
So,
and Mark was mentioning about fine leaves, might be better because harboring insects over winter, because that you don't want to bring more insects in just by trying to use natural leaf mulch, right? Because they could hide in the leaves.
Well, and depending on the insects too, if they're beneficial or if they're pests too. True. So I mean,
there's a lot of variables. There's so many, with gardening, which makes it fun.
But a good point, Mark. Definitely a good point. Yep. Depending on your goals, that leaf, the how fine it is, how coarse it is, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think let's see. We got through our Q&A. Do any of you out there have any more overwintering type questions? I know some of you don't even need to do this probably.
Yeah, and we didn't even get to what is it, hostas?
Hostas. We didn't talk about
elephant ears. We were going to talk about
elephant ears, right? Yeah.
Oh, Tracy, awesome. Okay, good.
Only twos. 2 inches.
I think 2 inches. Yeah, nice, good. Perfect, Tracy.
Okay, elephant ears. Let's talk about that for a minute. That might not be something you grow. A lot of people don't really need to worry about this, but they are only hardy down to what, zone 9 or 8?
Yeah, we push it in our.
We do.
I think it's 9. Yeah.
So we
push the envelope in our garden. So
we actually do overwinter them in containers sometimes because we forgot.
Yeah.
We just straight up got busy and we forgot, and they come back. We have lost some elephant ears though, and we love the look of elephant ears. We cannot wait to get those planted in the ground at our new, wherever this may be, our new property, because it's just they're so pretty and they sway in the breeze, and
they're so tropical looking.
So tropical.
I mean, they grow them. They grow a cousin of the elephant ear. In Hawaii, and it grows everywhere.
I mean, that's where it came from, right? Or that's like one of the more
one of the places it
native
came from,
kind of versions of it.
Let's see. They don't call it elephant ear though. They call it God, what do they call it? Taro?
Well, taro is
that's different. That's their potato.
That's the root that they get out of it.
Calocasia.
Alocasia. No, are we getting that mixed up with? Oh my gosh. Leave that aside. Digging them up though is something that we are going to do this year, so we'll show you how to do that on a video coming up, because I don't think we've ever done that. Like overwintered.
No, we haven't.
And shown that. No, alocasia, Mark's saying.
Alocasia. Thank you, Mark.
Jeez, brain. That can go on the next blooper video.
I need more coffee. Okay.
We've seen them. We learned about them, and we can't remember them.
What did Gwendolyn say?
What did Gwendolyn?
Sorry, Gwendolyn. I saw you pop up there.
Oh, okay. Have you guys ever tried to grow camellias? I've been wanting to grow some for some winter color because they're so beautiful.
So, Gwendolyn, are you up in Whidbey?
Oh, right.
I think you said you're in Whidbey Island
in Washington.
Camellias are hardy in our area, and they bloom. You can get camellias to bloom. They bloom all different kinds of years. And so, thanks, Mark. Yes, another blooper.
It's just they're endless.
So Gwendolyn, yeah, you should definitely try to grow camellias up there. They're beautiful. They kind of like more partial shade or full shade, depending on which one you get. But they come in many different sizes. You can get them in shrub form, tree form. So,
to answer your question, not Valerie, sorry, Gwendolyn, we did grow a camellia, and it was beautiful. It was from Monrovia, if I remember right. Yep. It had a beautiful pink flower, and we loved it. We had it actually in the ground at our old
house.
Why can't I talk? At our old house, and we dug it up and brought it with us, and it did not overwinter. And I have a feeling that we probably should have had it in a different environment or something.
I might have missed a couple of waterings and too much sun, So
a little sad about that, but it grew successfully for a couple years in the ground in our garden, and we did have it in a partial shade. We had it below, was that a golden chain? One of the big trees in our backyard.
Well, yeah, but I think full sun recently where it got kind of fried and get enough water.
Yeah.
So that kind of happened.
Definitely, we will add another one.
Yeah, and Gwendolyn, go to your local, on Whidbey Island, if you have a local nursery there, go there and talk to them and see what they can either order you or have on hand in inventory, because that'll give you, they're not going to sell anything that isn't hardy in your area. So in Whidbey Island, anybody else listening now, Island is very north of us, and it's its own island out in the Puget Sound, in the North Puget Sound. So beautiful. It's a different environment. It's a little bit, from my mind, it's a little bit harsher than our Tacoma Garden area. So yeah, Gwendolyn, go up there and, you're up there, but go to your nursery, your local nursery, and ask them for specifics on what camellias will grow well in your area.
Yeah, and Monrovia would be an awesome option too, like for brands if they have it. Let's see.
Yeah, Tracy, they can be messy. You're right. They can be messy with their blooms. They just kind of all fall at once, and it makes this big kind of mucky mess. And so, yeah, it can be a pain to. You bet, Gwendolyn. Yeah, Tracy, it can be a pain to clean up if you got a lot of them, or they're a mature tree or shrub and they just let all their blooms fall. So you got to really clean them up a lot. But
ours didn't quite get big enough to have that much of a mess, but the blooms were so beautiful.
Yeah.
Mary was talking about snakes, so I was kind of like, what? So she was mentioning that she ordered small wood chips, I'm assuming, from Home Depot, but they delivered big ones.
Snakes on a plane.
And she was very sad. Very sad. She put the big chips out in the garden anyway, but she said the snakes are hiding because it's too cold now, so they're hiding in the wood chips.
It's
so
be
careful in your garden.
Well, and hopefully they're not poisonous. Out here we don't have any poisonous snakes. We got gardener snakes, but yeah. What's going on?
Oh, Tracy mentioned that her camellia was huge, and it alluding to the big mess. So
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, you guys, there's so many different things. The fun thing is, wherever you live, I love hearing that some of you do get out and you make an effort to get out in your garden at least once or twice a week, because that's just something that brings us all so much joy, right?
Well, and calm too. It can just totally
especially calm in our crazy world right now. It's just, we need that connection with nature and that, and I hope that, you're all able, a lot of you don't need to worry about it because you either garden all year or you're able to with your climate, right? You're able to get outside, but we hope that you all find that comfort and that peace in your gardens.
Definitely. Yeah. Go outside, take a deep breath, be thankful for what you got.
I know, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We are very thankful for our garden.
And we're thankful for you guys being here today with us. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Oh, Tracy, yes, my garden heals my soil, my soul. Definitely.
Giving you a 100 on that. Totally agree. Yeah. And we do want to say thank you. Thank you for sticking with us when our screen went all fuzzy and pixelated.
We were pixelated.
For a while. It kind of went in and out for a while. And
you know what that reminded me of?
I don't know.
Minecraft. We were like Minecraft
people. Oh, geez. It was like... we went to Minecraft land for a while.
We were just blocks.
Oh, goodness. But yes, so you know what? We have plans. We're going to be here every Saturday in December. Live with you. We're making, we're declaring that, I should say, right now. Barring any whatever life emergency that might come up. But otherwise, we will be here with you guys.
Hopefully none.
So next week, we do have a topic picked out for every Saturday. We just kind of threw that together, and we hoped that would be fun for us all to talk about. Next week, we're going to talk, 'tis the season, so we're going to talk about some gifts.
Yes, and we're going to get all of those preloaded. We're going to preload the upcoming episodes for the lives, so you'll be able to see them. You'll get notifications for them. So if you're signed up, if you're not, go ahead and sign that notification bell. Click the notification bell, so then you'll get notified.
Yeah, definitely. And let us know if you're going to be there too. I don't know if you guys knew this, but when we schedule our lives ahead, you can actually get in there and comment on them ahead of time.
Oh, that's
so if you have any thoughts or questions or anything that you want us to cover, or you just want to say hi to everybody, you're excited that we're all going to get together and talk again, let us know. Just comment ahead on those lives.
It's a great idea.
So that would be fun for all of us to hear.
Yeah, totally.
Mark said he'll bring the donuts, so awesome, please make sure they're chocolate. So we'll be happy. But yeah, you guys, I think we'll maybe call this a wrap for today's episode. We thank you again. Some of you have been here with us the entire hour, and we're so thankful for that.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for all your awesome questions, all your comments, and it's been a lot of fun.
It's been so much fun. I know. So, and sorry, one more little plug. Stay tuned. We're going to be releasing our very first garden news roundup. I think we're sort of calling it. We're not sure on the title yet.
It's a work in progress. We'll figure it out.
But we're really excited to bring this to you. And one of the topics we're going to cover is the USDA hardiness zone map, and then we have some other stuff. So we're excited to get this out to you and see what you think and see if this is something you want us to continue doing.
Yep, on a weekly basis. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
So, and it's not a live. It's just, it'll be a regular video. So, okay.
So thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great weekend.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.